Hello everybody, this is Michael Roberts and it's another Michael Roberts Talks To, and today I have Professor Alejandro Valle from the university, the Autonomous University of Mexico, the National University there in Mexico City, the largest university in Latin America, and the economics department there. Professor Valle is going to discuss with us the relationship, the tortuous and difficult relationship between Mexico and the United States, these two big neighbors in the center of the Americas. Professor Valle has been an outstanding contributor towards Marxist economics over the years. In particular, he has studied the work of the Latin American capitalist economies and also the theory of Marxist theory of value in some detail, and made some important contributions there, and a critique really of Keynesian economics too from a Marxist point of view. It's got two books in particular that I hope everyone will have a look at if they get the opportunity. Mexican Capitalism Fails Again, published in 2011 by Razon and Revolution, Argentinian publisher. And more recently in 2018, The Wages of Crisis, published by La Journal, important newspaper publisher in Mexico itself. Professor Valle has a number of WordPress and blog sites for you to get more information about his work. I'll put those on the end of this video when it's complete. But now we're going to discuss what's been happening in Mexican capitalism and also how that fits in with what's going on with the big neighbor above Mexico, the United States. We have two presidents which are relatively new in the United States, President Trump in the US, and AMLO, as he's called, the president in Mexico who came into power after a long battle last year. So it's going to be an important discussion in the light of what's happening with COVID and what's happening with the world capitalist economy. So I'm going to hand over now to Professor Valle to give us his presentation on this tortuous situation. Alejandro, okay. Over to you.
Okay, thank you both. This is my...
That's good.
Yes, but it doesn't...
Okay, we're recording.
I am ready now. I think so. This is the content of my explanation.
Yeah.
First, a small comparison between two countries, a brief description of main economic relationships, people, goods and service, and money. This is the main relationship between two countries. And I try to limit the explanation of licit economics because I don't know enough about not licit economics, illegal trade of goods or illegal monetary flows. So this is the Mexican-US comparison. As you can see, in gross terms, US has the three times the Mexican population, and Mexican population is growing faster than the US. And this is the third, this data I think is quite important because it shows that the GDP, gross national income, are 10 times US than Mexico. So it's a much bigger country than Mexico. And in per capita terms, the relationship is about, the rate is about 7 times.
Yeah.
And the next data is also quite important because the military force is quite different. US is a great military country, and Mexico, it has a small military force. So anytime that US wants to invade Mexico, can do that without any problem. And this is the last data is the problem for the US, most important in Trump's view. The deficit, the commercial deficit of the US is a very important issue. Why? Because in many interpretations, especially in Keynesian point of view, trade deficit is destructing employment, and employment is a very big issue in the United States since 20 years ago, because they don't have enough good employments. Some analysts said that the American dream is over because most of the new jobs in the US economy are not good jobs. Some people say that there are a lot of shit jobs in the United States, but not good jobs for many people. So it's a big problem for the US. No? This is the main economic issues between Mexico and the US. The foreign trade is quite important. Illegal drug trafficking, and also the legal and illegal sale of arms to Mexico, weapons to Mexico. This is important, and most people don't talk of this issue. Most people talk about drugs. Mexican are good producers of drugs, but in the US are promoting this sort of trafficking, and also they are producing and sell weapons to Mexico. The other aspect of human traffic is tourism. Is quite important, and Mexican immigration is a big issue for the US. As you will recall, Trump has many times talked about the big wall, in order to stop Mexican immigration. And the next issue, important issue, is foreign investment. Most of the foreign investment in Mexico came from the US. Let's see something data about immigration. In this graph, this picture, you can see the immigration from 19th century to today. And as you can see, when US economy was in expansion, when the rate of profit was high, the immigration diminished and was enough. So the US changed the rules in order to admit more immigration. This is this point is 1965. Is the highest point in rate of profit as your work.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Point out, and then they changed the rules in order to admit more immigrants, and you can see it was a success. So it's connected with the rate of profit, the change of rules in order to admit more workers, and in order to contain the wage increasing. This is the immigration, but not in absolute terms like in the first picture, but in relative terms. This is the share of the immigration in total population. As you can see, it continues diminished until the 70s, and then increase, but not to the highest level in the history of immigration. I think that it's important to point out this it's important immigration, but it was most important in the past. This is the illegal immigration to the U.S. Economy in comparison with regular immigration. It's about 20%. About 20% is illegal. About 11 million of illegal immigrants, and it was in 2017. No, it's this is the data. But the situation is changes. Every day is change. This is it was the immigration from Europe. This brown part of the picture, and you can see the Asians is the immigration that is increasing until today. And this is the Mexican immigration. It's one of the most important, but since some years is diminishing after the great stagnation. The Mexican immigration diminished, even is now in negative terms. More Mexicans are going out of the US than Mexican going into the United States.
Yes, not many people realize that, do they, Alejandro? That actually the net immigration now has turned into a net emigration.
Next, one of the next data, I will talk of this. This is the share of the immigration.
Yeah.
As you can see, Mexico is the first place, and China is the second, and so on and so on. Yeah. This is this center is quite important for understand for analysis of immigration of the U.S. Pew Research Center.
Yes, that's the one, the net migration.
It's a little small. Let me try to in 29,
yeah.
140 Mexican left the United States. This is the net immigration was negative in 29. So it's not the problem is quite different if you look at the numbers. That if you hear Mr. Trump's wall, is Mexican immigration is diminishing in the last years because, by example, Obama expelled a lot of Mexicans during his two presidencies. So it's a big issue, but it's a problem that is solving by itself because there are not good jobs at the U.S. and Mexico are not going more to the U.S. They are leaving to Mexico.
Yeah.
They are looking for jobs in our country. Some call centers in Mexico are have new Mexican workers that speak English perfectly. So most of the problem is diminishing. But in economical terms, the immigrants are quite important to Mexico. This is the amount of remittance from U.S. Mexicans, from Mexicans who live at the U.S. to their own country. And as you can see, it's a huge amount of money.
So Mexicans in the US are sending back nearly $40 billion a year.
Yes, yes, it's a huge amount of money, and it's very important for Mexico. It's about 2 or 3% of the Mexican GDP.
That's huge. Very big.
It's very big. So if you compare with some other important issues, exportation issues, this is, you can see that some years is quite close to oil production, oil exportation of Mexico, and in recent years, the remittance surpass the oil.
Wow. So it's even more important than oil exports from Mexico.
In some years, yes, yeah. Yes. And in the future, it could be more important. The highest line in this picture is automotive exportation.
Right.
It's
so
a very
selling
new
vehicles to the United States. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. I will talk about this in more of this in the next. No, it's necessary to explain more of this picture, because it appears that Mexico is a very good producer of automotive products. But it's not true. It's not Mexico. Most of the exportation are U.S. factories producing in Mexico for the U.S. market, and the other are Japanese, and the other are German. The Volkswagen is producing in Mexico to the U.S. So it's not Mexican capital in real terms, are Mexican surplus value.
All the profits from this auto production and export are going to the companies who are not in Mexico. They're in US, Japan, somewhere else.
Yes, some part go back, but some part are reinvested in Mexico because capital needs capital in order to exploit Mexican workers.
Yes.
So the reinvestment, it's a very good share of the profits. So this is one important issue. Trump tried to modify the NAFTA, the commercial agreement between US and Mexico that was started at 94, but he can change much. He modify some parts in order to increase the share of the U.S. companies, but he can't modify substantially the picture of the automotive commerce. The new agreement I can't remember now. I can't recall the name of TEMEC. In Spanish is TEMEC. I don't recall
TEMEC, same in English. It's the same word.
Okay, it's in English TEMEC. Okay. Well, this is one of the most important issues that Mexico are exporting a lot of things to the United States, and the nationalist sector of the U.S. bourgeoisie is trying to change a little these sort of things.
Yeah.
Let me present the other aspect of the relationship. This is traveling. Most of the U.S. tourists go to Mexico.
Yeah.
Double than Europe, by example. So it's a very important relationship between two countries. And also, most Mexicans go to the United States than any other place in the world.
Yes.
So this is reciprocal. So this issue of people are quite important. Immigration and tourism. But let's see now goods. Goods are quite important, especially since the crisis of the 80s. After the crisis of the 80s, Mexican share of foreign commerce increased every year, as you can see in this graph. This is importation to GDP rate. Mexico is more integrated to the world market since the crisis of 80s. It's not after NAFTA, it's before NAFTA, the Mexican integration. And the crisis was the triggered the Mexican integration. But it's also the same in the United States. You can see the United States increased the share of foreign commerce after the 80s, and now it's more important, more than double than in the past. No, you know this data better than me, and this is and this is a global phenomenon. It's not just US and Mexico. Why is so important? It's so important because the commercial deficit is huge for the United States. Not in relative terms, but in absolute terms, it's quite important. This is millions of dollars. No? It's quite important. It was quite important every year, and it remains of this close to this $500 billion, millions of times. And the other important branch to increase capital, to obtain profits, is alcohol. And this is not US, because the US companies are not so important as your country's companies. British companies are the most important, but the increase of alcohol shares is quite important. Is quite important. This is quite most of the Mexicans many Mexicans are smokers, and many Mexicans are drinkers because profits make Mexicans smokers and drinkers.
Various companies in various industries like drinks, cigarettes, alcohol, they sell a lot to Mexican people, and they are being killed by this, really. Yeah.
Yes, in the next in the next figures, I will talk about this problem. In contrast, you can see a normal capitalist corporation obtain less profits than this sort of corporations. If you look at the propaganda, the main problem for US and Mexico are drug production.
Yeah.
But it's not true. The main problem is the regular food in Mexico, the regular food at the United States, the soft drinks, and the tobacco industry. Tobacco industry, the producers of tobacco, the sales of tobacco in Mexico are most of them from US companies. Yeah. American Tobacco is the biggest producer in Mexico.
Yeah.
So if you look at the figures, the problem is not illegal drugs, but
food and drink and
the legal addictive substance.
Yeah.
Yes, and alcohol. No, alcohol also. Oh.
Okay, was that it?
Stop the record.
Well, thank you, Alejandro, for that presentation. I have a number of questions that come from.
Yes, I need one more figure for.
Right.
Close to 10% is very poor. They can eat enough.
Yeah.
About 9% of Mexicans are diabetic.
Right.
This is because soft drinks. Mexico is the higher consumer in the world by soft drinks. And about 10% of Mexican males are alcoholic now.
Yeah.
This is more important than any illegal drug.
Yeah.
In Mexico and in any other country. No? And but in order to avoid drugs, the US and Mexico were in war against drugs, and now many Mexicans are dying because killing.
Yeah.
With American weapons. So it's a very big problem, and this is a result of the Mexican-U.S. relationships. Yeah. So, as you said, the relationship is quite problematic, but we need to redefine the problems, because the most common presentations is biased to the U.S. point of view. It's a colonial point of view. We need to analyze the problems in a different perspective, from the Mexican point of view as also the U.S. point of view. We need to take a more equilibrium point of view.
Well, thank you, Alejandro, for a comprehensive account of the situation of the relationship between Mexico and the United States. And as you say, it's a problematic one that still needs rectifying, because both countries are tied to each other and they are neighbors, and that can never change. So there has to be some solution down the road. I've got a number of questions for you, so that we can perhaps discuss these and then finish off. The first one that springs to mind to me from what you've shown me about how most people think that drug trafficking is the big issue, but actually there's a whole imperialist relationship here in terms of American and other foreign companies using Mexican labor to export back to their countries to make a bigger profit, and also selling all sorts of goods to Mexican people, which are not making them well, whether it's drinks, food of various sorts which are full of sugar content, smoking, tobacco, and so on. But that, it seems to me, is a key question that you've described. One of the things you did show to me was the way in which the Mexican economy has, at least I don't think so, has really progressed in relation to the United States. The gap between Mexico and the US in your first graph is very, very big, both not only in size, but in per capita income and productivity and everything. And that gap doesn't seem to be closing. One of the things I noticed, do you think that the North American Free Trade Agreement, reached in 1994, amended under the Trump administration with Canada and Mexico, has that been beneficial to Mexican capitalism and the Mexican people, or has it been detrimental? Is it something that has actually made things worse or better, in your view?
I think that it's necessary to point in the just place the agreement. The agreement is not so important in Mexican point of view, because most of the laws that increase the commerce was changed before the agreement. The agreement was signed in order to protect U.S. corporation, in order to protect investment, in order to protect intellectual property. So this is the real importance of NAFTA. So I think that the question should be the openness of the Mexican economy is good for the people or not.
Yeah.
And I think that the answer would be the openness of Mexican economy is really good for big Mexican corporations. They change from a small national market to the world market.
Yes.
Telmex, by example, in the past was a small company that Mexican government expropriated some year and administrated for several years with bad results, with losses most of the time.
Yeah.
Then, a little before the NAFTA, the Mexican government privatized Telmex. And Carlos Slim bought the company and transformed it in a big success because it's a monopoly, and for several years Telmex was a Mexican success. But after some years, Mexican market was not enough.
Yeah.
So Carlos Slim changed his mind, and became globalist. And Telmex now has investment in South America and US. If I don't.
So now it's an international company. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And like this situation, many other capitalists, Mexican capitalists, is.
So these the bigger Mexican capital companies have benefited from NAFTA because they've been able to expand.
Yes, sure.
But the people as a whole, it hasn't made much difference for people.
The peasants in Mexico lost their lands, their jobs, and this is why they need to emigrate. Nobody emigrate because are looking for a picture, a Hollywood picture, and decide I would like to be at Manhattan. They emigrate because they don't have jobs in Mexico. They don't have enough money, enough food. So they put in risk their lives in order to find better jobs in other.
Let me ask you another question, Alejandro. Now here we are in 2020. Last year you have a new president, AMLO as he's called for short. He is regarded as a progressive president compared to your previous presidents. Like the one before, Nieto is now under charges of corruption. This is not unusual with Mexican presidents. But AMLO is there. Trump is this mad right-wing leader of the US, the neighbor. How is this relationship working with these two presidents? Is it changing anything economically in Mexico? Or is Mexico not able to do anything, really, given the problem with the COVID depression, the level of the virus epidemic in Mexico and in the US? Is the relationship expressed in any way between these two presidents, or do they? Are they completely apart?
I think that the relationship between these two presidents are good, really good, and it changed a little bit the things. It's more stable, the relationship now than with the former Mexican president, because the former Mexican president was not only corrupt but stupid. It was really stupid. They can talk about anything fluidly. He had a lot of problems, we think. And this one is smart, and this one is a good politician. But I think that only details change a little, but the main issues remain. And both presidents cannot change the most important problems in both countries. So I think that they change the forms of presentation of the problems, but not the problems itself.
Yeah.
The problems itself is that capitalism is not working for most of the people at the United States, and it's the same for Mexico.
Well, let me finish on this point, the last question, so we can finish. You said that we need to have a more equal relationship between Mexico and the US. It's an unequal relationship in trade, investment, in everything. We need the equality improved. What is the one thing that Mexico needs to do in order to try and improve that? What would you say? The big question.
Yes, a very big question. I think that there is no capitalist solution.
Yeah.
I don't believe that there is a solution in capitalism terms. Mexico needs, as U.S. economy, socialism.
Mexico needs another revolution like in 1910, but this time a socialist one, yes? Yeah.
I am very pessimistic about this government. I am afraid that Mexican government don't means any change, in any important change in Mexico. So it gives some breath to Mexican workers, but it's just an illusion. It's not quite different.
Yeah.